The sleek Confederation vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, its pearlescent hull reflecting the sunlight as it landed at the designated diplomatic zone in Seoul. Captain Taiwan Kim stood at attention as the ship's doors slid open, revealing the alien delegation. "Welcome to Earth," he said, bowing slightly to the tall, slender beings with iridescent skin. Ambassador Jai-Ho Park stepped forward with the official greeting tablet. The lead alien, who had introduced itself as Envoy Xal, surveyed the military honor guard with its 4 eyes, focusing particularly on their ceremonial weapons. "Your security presence is extensive," Xal noted, its translator converting the clicks and whistles into Korean. "Standard protocol for diplomatic receptions," Taiwan explained, not mentioning that they had actually reduced the usual contingent by half. Later, during the initial diplomatic briefing, the aliens appeared increasingly disturbed as they reviewed Earth's military history. "Your species maintains enough weapons to destroy your planet several times over," said Xal. "Why such aggressive posturing when there have been no external threats to your world?" The question hung in the air of the conference room. Taiwan exchanged glances with Jai-Ho, whose diplomatic smile never wavered despite the tension. "Perhaps we should discuss this over dinner," Jai-Ho suggested smoothly. "Korean cuisine is quite famous, even if you can only sample the aromas." The alien delegation followed, their skin shifting colors from concerned purple to a more neutral blue. The 7 aliens moved in perfect unison, their long limbs barely making a sound on the polished floors of the United Earth Embassy. Secretary of Defense Sun Mi-Kang waited for them in the dining hall. Unlike the diplomats with their careful words, Sun Mi was direct. She had risen through military ranks and saw no point in dancing around difficult topics. "You find our weapons disturbing," she said as the aliens settled into their specially designed seats. "We find your lack of them equally concerning." Xal's upper eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of surprise according to the limited cultural briefing the Earth team had received. Defense is rarely needed in a civilized society. Sun Mi laughed, a sharp sound that made several aliens flinch. "Then we must have different definitions of civilized." The servers brought in traditional dishes, arranged beautifully on ceramic plates. As expected, the aliens did not eat but instead placed small devices near the food that analyzed the components. "Your planet has had 17 major wars in just the last 200 years, said Tauri, the alien scientist. "Our entire confederation has not seen armed conflict in over a millennium." Taiwan nodded. "That's impressive. How many natural predators evolved on your homeworlds?" The question seemed to confuse the aliens. They communicated among themselves in rapid clicks and whistles before Xal responded. "None of significance. Most Confederation species evolved as either solitary gatherers or herd grazers." "I see," said Taiwan, filing away this crucial information. "Earth's history is quite different." The dinner continued with careful conversation. The Earth team avoided discussing military matters further, focusing instead on art, music, and science. The aliens seemed to relax, their skin tones shifting to pleasant greens and blues. After dinner, as the delegation toured the embassy gardens under the night sky, Taiwan received an urgent message on his communication device. The Global Defense Network had detected unusual activity in orbit. 3 more alien ships had arrived without prior notification. "Is there a problem, Captain?" asked Xal, noticing his concern. "Not at all," Taiwan lied smoothly. "Just a scheduling matter for tomorrow's tour." Behind his calm expression, his mind raced. The defense protocols were clear. 3 unannounced vessels constituted a potential threat. Defensive systems around the globe would now be at heightened alert, missile systems tracking the new arrivals, submarines moving into strategic positions. Jai-Ho joined them, having received the same alert. "The gardens are lovely at night, aren't they? We've imported plants from all over Earth to create this space." As they walked, Taiwan noticed Sol studying the stars with its upper set of eyes, while maintaining conversation with its lower set. An impressive evolutionary feature, but also somewhat unnerving. Your planet's moon bears many scars, Sal observed, pointing to the full moon overhead. Yes, from asteroid impacts over billions of years, explained Jeho. And yet your planet shows few such impacts, continued Excel. Curious. Sunmai, who had joined them in the garden, spoke up. Not curious at all. Earth has been hit many times. The evidence is either underwater or erased by weather and time. Our dinosaurs were likely wiped out by such an impact. Dinosaurs? Asked Tauri, the scientist. Massive predators that ruled our planet for millions of years before mammals like us evolved. Sunmai explained. We have only dominated this planet for a tiny fraction of its history, and even now, we're just one disaster away from losing that position. The alien skin rippled with colors that the Earth team couldn't interpret. Zell gestured toward a bench. May we sit? I believe we need to have a more direct conversation. Once seated, Zell's tone changed, becoming more formal. The Confederation Council sent us to evaluate Earth for potential membership. Your technology qualifies you, but there is concern about your warlike tendencies. We prefer to call it preparedness, said Sunmei. For what do you prepare? Asked Uxal. There are no threats in this region of space. Taiwan leaned forward. With respect, how would you know? Your species doesn't even prepare for threats on your own worlds. The diplomatic niceties were falling away now. Jeho tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground, but Saul raised a long-fingered hand. The additional ships in orbit are standard procedure, the alien said. We should have informed you. My apologies. Sun Mi's eyes narrowed. Those ships are scanning our military installations. We know because we're scanning them back. For the first time, Zal seemed genuinely surprised. Your detection technology is impressive, as is your attempt at deception. Sunmai replied. If the Confederation truly hasn't seen conflict in a millennium, you're either extremely lucky or dangerously unprepared for the realities of existence. Sal's skin darkened to a deep indigo. Perhaps there is much we can learn from each other. The tense conversation was interrupted by a soft tone from Jeho's communication device. It seems our president is available for an unscheduled meeting, she announced. She's quite interested in hearing more about the Confederation's peaceful history. As they walked back toward the main building, Taiwan received another alert. Earth's defense systems had detected energy readings consistent with weapons systems aboard the alien vessels. The truth was becoming clearer by the minute. These peaceful aliens weren't being honest about something important. The question was, what were they hiding? And why 3 days later, Taiwan escorted the alien delegation through the Korean Defense Ministry's museum. The aliens stopped at every display, their skin changing to pale yellow, apparently their color of distress. These are just our conventional weapons, explained Dr. Hae-Sun Lee, the military historian assigned to the tour. Most were developed in the last century. Our species developed faster than light travel before we created anything resembling these projectile weapons, said Tauri, another alien delegate. It's difficult to understand your priorities. That evening, during a private meeting, Ambassador Jeho made a suggestion to the diplomatic team. They don't understand our world, she said. They need context. Let's show them why we developed these defenses. Taiwan nodded. I'll arrange a visit to the Natural History Museum tomorrow. The meeting ended late. Taiwan walked to his office window and looked at the 3 alien ships hanging in the night sky. They glowed faintly, visible even through the city lights. Whatever the aliens claimed about being peaceful, those ships carried weapons. Earth's sensors had confirmed it. His phone rang. It was Sunmei from Defense. The president wants to proceed carefully, she said without greeting. But I don't trust them. Neither do I, admitted Taiwan. Tomorrow we're taking them to the Natural History Museum. Dr. Lee thinks seeing Earth's predators might help them understand us better. Sunmai was quiet for a moment. Good idea. Meanwhile, I've put our orbital platforms on silent alert. If those ships make any aggressive moves, we'll be ready. The next morning, The alien delegation met Taiwan at the museum entrance. Their skin had returned to its normal blue-green shade, but Taiwan noticed they stayed closer together than before, as if seeking safety in numbers. Dr. Jun Seo Choi, the museum's director, greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome to Earth's story," he said. "Today we'll explore why humans became who we are." The first hall contained fossils of early sea creatures. The aliens seemed relaxed here, even curious. Tara used a small device to take readings of the ancient life forms. "These remind me of creatures from Naraxia, our third colony world," Tadizal said. They moved to the next hall, where the museum displayed the first predator-prey relationships. Fish with razor teeth, giant sea scorpions, early land predators with massive jaws. As life evolved on Earth, competition drove adaptation, explained Dr. Choi. Those who could hunt survived. Those who could avoid being hunted survived. Everything else perished. The alien skin began shifting toward yellow again. In the dinosaur hall, the delegation froze completely. They stared up at the Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton, its mouth filled with teeth as long as their fingers. "This creature existed on your world?" asked Sal, voice barely audible. "For millions of years, yes," said Dr. Choi. "And it wasn't even the largest predator, just one of the most efficient." Taiwan watched their reaction carefully. The aliens seemed genuinely shocked. Their translator devices worked overtime as they whispered urgently to each other in their clicking language. "Please understand," said Dr. Choi. "Humans evolved on a planet where danger was constant. Our earliest ancestors were small, weak mammals hiding from predators like these. When the dinosaurs finally vanished after a massive asteroid impact, new predators evolved to take their place." They moved to the next hall, which showed early human evolution. The aliens seemed disturbed by the displays showing prehistoric humans using spears to fend off cave bears and saber-toothed cats. "You were prey?" asked Tauri, the scientist. "We were prey for most of our evolutionary history," confirmed Dr. Choi. "Even after we developed tools and weapons, large predators hunted us. Even today, in some remote areas, humans are still killed by predators." As if on cue, they entered a hall showing modern Earth predators: lions, tigers, polar bears, great white sharks. The exhibits included video displays showing these animals hunting. The aliens watched a tiger take down a deer, their skin now almost white with distress. "Do you begin to understand?" asked Taiwan gently. "We developed weapons first as tools for survival. Our entire psychology is shaped by the need to protect ourselves, not just from other humans, but from a world filled with threats." Zal turned all four eyes toward Taiwan. None of the Confederation species evolved under such pressure. Our homeworlds had few predators, and those were small, easily avoided. We developed tools for gathering food, not for fighting. "That explains a lot," said Taiwan. After the museum tour, they sat in the garden cafe. The aliens didn't eat, but they seemed to enjoy the peaceful setting. Their skin had gradually returned to normal colors. "I must transmit this information to the Confederation Council," said Zal. "We have misunderstood humans fundamentally." Taiwan smiled. "That's good to hear. But I still have questions about your ships. Our sensors detected weapons systems, despite your claims of being a peaceful society." The aliens went still. Then, surprisingly, Zal laughed, a strange bubbling sound. "You detected our defense systems that quickly. Impressive." Zal's upper eyes blinked rapidly. "Yes, we have defensive capabilities. The universe is vast, and not always kind." "Then you do understand the need for protection," said Taiwan. "Perhaps less than you think," replied Zal. "Our weapons have never been fired in actual conflict. They exist as a precaution only." That evening, Taiwan met with Jai-Ho and Sun-Mi to discuss the day's events. "I believe they're telling the truth about their peaceful history," said Jai-Ho. "Their shock at our predators seemed genuine." Sun-Mi remained skeptical, That doesn't explain why they lied about their ships being armed. I think they're embarrassed, suggested Tadwan. Their whole identity is built around being peaceful. Admitting they have weapons, even defensive ones, contradicts that image. Jaiho nodded. Cultural pride. We understand that. Korea itself has a complex relationship with its military history. There's something else, said Tadwan. When I mentioned our sensors detecting their weapons, Saul seemed impressed. Almost. Relieved. Relieved? Why? Asked Sunmei. I'm not sure, admitted Tadwan. But I think tomorrow we should show them our defensive systems. Not our weapons, but how we protect ourselves. The early warning networks. The planetary shields being developed. Show them we're focused on survival, not conquest. Jaiho considered this. Good idea. And perhaps we should ask more about their history. If they truly developed faster than light travel before weapons, what drove that development? What were they reaching for among the stars? As they talked, satellites tracked the alien ships adjusting their orbits slightly. The movement wasn't threatening, but it was deliberate. The ships were now positioned to scan different parts of Earth. They're still studying us, noted Sunmei, checking her phone. Learning everything they can. Good, said Tadwan, because we're studying them too. And I think both sides have much to learn. That night, Tadwan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Saul's relief when Earth's defensive capabilities were mentioned. It didn't make sense for a peaceful species to be happy about another species' military prowess, unless they needed something from humans, something only a species shaped by constant danger could provide. This is a tiger, Dr. Min-Soo Park explained, pointing to the life-size diorama. Until recently, humans were prey for creatures like this. The alien delegation moved closer to the exhibit, their skin shifting to deep blue, their color of fascination mixed with fear. This predator hunted your species? Asked Uxal, studying the replica tiger's teeth. Yes, along with wolves, bears, large snakes, and countless other predators. Min-Soo continued. Humans evolved on a planet where we were neither the fastest nor the strongest. Our intelligence and tools were our only advantages. He guided them to the next display, showing early human settlements. Our earliest weapons weren't designed to fight each other. They were created to protect ourselves from creatures that saw us as food. Zal trembled visibly. Your entire evolutionary history is shaped by being hunted. And by hunting, added Tadwan, we were both predator and prey. The aliens circled the tiger display, their movements cautious as if the stuffed animal might spring to life. Tauri used a small device to scan the tiger's teeth and claws, analyzing their cutting potential. These teeth could pierce most Confederation species' skin with minimal pressure, Tauri announced, voice quavering. The claws would shred our protective layers instantly. Min-Soo nodded. Tigers can still kill humans today, despite our technology. In some parts of India and Russia, they occasionally attack villages. He guided the group to the next display, showing early humans with simple spears facing off against a cave bear. The scene was dynamic. One human lay dead on the ground while others formed a defensive circle. This is not fiction, Min-Soo explained. We have found human bones with teeth marks from these ancient bears. Many of our ancestors died this way. Zal's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. How did your species survive such threats? By becoming threats ourselves, said Tadwan. We learned to make better weapons. We learned to work together. We learned to think ahead and anticipate danger. The tour continued to a display showing human evolution. The aliens stopped at each stage, watching as the models showed increasingly upright posture, larger brains, and more sophisticated tools. Notice how tools develop alongside our physical changes, Min-Soo pointed out. As our brains grew, our weapons improved. As we became more social, our defensive strategies became more complex. Fascinating, whispered Saul. On our homeworld, tools developed primarily for food gathering and shelter building. Weapons were an afterthought, developed millennia after our basic technology. Min Su smiled. For us, the first stone tools were dual purpose, for cutting meat and for defense. The first controlled fire kept us warm, but also kept predators away at night. They moved to a new section of the museum devoted to human warfare. The alien skin paled again, as they viewed displays of ancient battles. "I don't understand," said Tauri. "If your weapons were for protection against animals, why use them against each other?" Min Su looked to Taiwan, who stepped forward. "The same instincts that helped us survive predators became turned inward," Taiwan explained. "Resources were limited. Territory was valuable. Groups competed, just as other species compete in nature. It's the dark side of our evolutionary history," added Min Su. "But it also drove innovation. Many of our greatest technological advances came during times of conflict. The aliens conferred among themselves, their skin rippling with complex patterns. Finally, Xal turned back to the humans. "We would like to share something with you," Xal said. "But first, can we see more of your natural predators? We need to understand the full context of your development." Min Su led them to a special exhibit hall that had been prepared overnight. Inside were living examples of Earth's predators in secure habitats, a small shark tank, a puma in a reinforced enclosure, a glass case containing venomous snakes. The aliens froze at the entrance, their skin turning almost white. "These are alive?" asked Tauri. "Yes," said Min Su. "We thought seeing them move would help you better understand what shaped us." As if on cue, the puma noticed the visitors and leaped toward the glass, curious about the strange-looking aliens. The delegation jumped back in unison, making high-pitched clicking sounds that their translators didn't convert. "The big cat cannot reach us," assured Min Su. "The barrier is completely safe." "That's what the Naraxian colony said," muttered Xal, too quietly for the translator to pick up properly. "Pardon?" asked Taiwan. Xal's skin darkened. "Nothing important." "Please, continue the tour." They observed each predator. The aliens seemed particularly disturbed by the snakes, whose patient, unblinking stare followed their movements. "These creatures hunt by ambush," explained Min Su. "They teach humans to always be vigilant, to look carefully before taking each step. Always watching for danger," whispered Tauri. "Always prepared for attack." "Yes," said Taiwan. "It's in our nature now, even in the safest human cities." After the tour, they gathered in a conference room. The aliens seemed subdued, their normal blue-green skin now a deep, thoughtful purple. "We have misunderstood humans fundamentally," Xal finally said. "We saw your weapons and military structures as signs of aggression. Now we understand they come from a deep history of survival." "I'm glad we could clarify this," said Taiwan. "There is more," continued Xal. "The Confederation has been selective with information we've shared." The admission hung in the air. Taiwan and Min Su exchanged glances. "What information?" asked Taiwan carefully. Xal's skin rippled with complex patterns. "The third ship that arrived contains our Security Council. They insisted on coming when our initial reports described Earth's military capabilities." "I see," said Taiwan. "And why would that interest your Security Council?" Xal hesitated. "Because the Confederation is not as peaceful as we claimed. Or rather, we are peaceful because we had no choice." "Explain," said Taiwan. 20 of your Earth years ago, the Naraxian colony was attacked by an unknown species. The colony was destroyed before they could send more than a basic distress signal. When our ships arrived, we found no survivors. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. "You were attacked," said Min Su, "and you had no defensive capabilities." "Minimal ones," admitted Xal. "We've been developing them since, but our species lacked the instinct for it. We think defensively, not offensively. Our weapons are inefficient because we have no evolutionary framework for creating effective ones." Taiwan leaned forward. And now you find a species shaped by predators, with advanced weapons technology, and you're interested in an alliance. Yes, said Saul simply. We need humanity's help. The attackers left evidence they would return. Our scientists believe they are still out there, watching. So you came to evaluate us as potential defenders, said Min-Su. Zal's skin flushed a deep, honest blue. Yes, but we needed to be sure you wouldn't be a threat to us as well. Now we understand why you are as you are. You developed weapons because your world forced you to. Our worlds did not. Taiwan sat back in his chair. I need to inform our government of this development. Of course, said Vexal. The Security Council wishes to meet with your leaders tomorrow. They'd bring detailed information about the attack and what we know of the hostile species. As the aliens left the room, Min-Su turned to Taiwan. Do you believe them? He asked. Taiwan watched through the window as the alien delegation crossed the courtyard, their tall forms moving with graceful caution. Yes, he said finally. I think I do. They're afraid, and they found someone who understands fear, who's lived with it for thousands of generations, and who knows how to fight back, added Min-Su. In the conference room overlooking the Han River, the alien scientists were processing what they had learned. We've surveyed over 300 planets with complex life, said Tauri, accessing data on a holographic display. None have the predatory diversity or evolutionary pressure found on Earth. Ambassador Jaho nodded. Our world shaped us to be cautious, defensive, and prepared. Most of our technological development came from competition, sometimes with each other, but always with survival as the underlying motivation. Taiwan spread a series of historical images across the table. These show how our weapons evolved from hunting tools to defensive technology. We aren't preparing to conquer the galaxy. We're responding to our evolutionary programming to protect ourselves. We misunderstood entirely, Zal admitted, its skin shifting to a contemplative green. What we saw as aggression was actually a deep adaptation for survival. The morning light reflected off the river, casting gentle ripples of light across the ceiling. Through the large windows, Seoul's skyline created a backdrop of human achievement. The alien delegation had brought their Security Council leader, an older being named Vex, whose skin had permanent blue-gray patches, battle scars. They explained, from the Noraxian incident. Show them, Vex instructed Tauri, speaking in the human language rather than relying on the translator. Tauri touched controls on the holographic display. The peaceful river view was replaced by images of destruction. A burning colony, buildings crumbled to ash, strange claw marks on metal walls. This was Noraxia, Tauri explained quietly. A research outpost with 37 scientists and their families. 112 souls in total. Taiwan studied the images carefully, his military training kicking in. The attack pattern suggests coordination, multiple entry points. This wasn't random violence. No, agreed Vex. It was methodical. They disabled communications first, then power systems, then life support. They knew exactly what they were doing, added Sunmai, who had joined the meeting representing Earth's defense forces. These aren't the actions of animals or even primitive beings. This was tactical. Vex nodded, pleased with their analysis. Yes, the attackers left no images of themselves. They destroyed all cameras. But we found this. The hologram changed to show a strange footprint cast in metal. It had 6 toe-like extensions and a central pad. This was melted into a steel floor panel, explained Vex. Temperature analysis suggests a body heat of at least twice that of your mammals. Jai-Ho leaned forward. And you have no idea who they are. None, said Vex. We searched our records of all known species. Nothing matches. We believe they come from beyond our explored space, perhaps from another arm of the galaxy. And you think they'll return? Asked Tadwan. Vex's skin darkened. We found this carved into the colony's main door. The hologram showed a strange symbol, a spiral with 3 lines cutting through it. We've seen this symbol twice more since then, continued Vex. Once on an abandoned mining station, once on a deep space probe we lost contact with. Always the same mark. The room fell silent as the humans processed this information. You need defenders, said Sunmei finally. And you think humans might be suitable? Yes, admitted Vex. Your species evolved under constant threat. You understand danger in ways we never can. Our scientists believe these attackers are predatory by nature, like many of your Earth species. You might understand their thinking better than we do. Taiwan stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful city. Our history of violence isn't something we're proud of. We've spent centuries trying to overcome our darker instincts. Yet you maintain powerful weapons, noted Ktel. Yes, agreed Taiwan. Because deep down, we know the universe doesn't care about peace. Only the prepared survive. Jaiho joined him at the window. What Taiwan means is that humans have always lived with contradiction. We dream of peace while preparing for war. We hope for the best while planning for the worst. Exactly what we need, said Vex with surprising emotion. The Confederation has been vulnerable because we only prepared for peace. We never truly understood threat until Naraxia. Sun Mai had been quiet, studying the images carefully. Now she looked up. You said this attack happened 20 Earth years ago. Why wait so long to seek help? The aliens exchanged glances, their skin shifting through complex patterns. Internal politics, admitted Vex finally. Many in the Confederation refused to believe the attack was deliberate. They called it an accident or a natural disaster. Others believed if we armed ourselves, we would attract more violence. Denial, said Jaiho. A very human response too. But evidence kept appearing, continued Vex. The symbol, strange energy readings at the edge of our territory. 3 ships that disappeared while exploring new regions. Finally, the council had to act. Taiwan returned to the table. So you came looking for allies who understand violence? Yes, said Ktal. But we feared finding savages who would threaten us as well. Your weapons frightened us until we understood their origin. Jaiho smiled diplomatically. And now we see potential for true partnership, said Vex. Your defensive instincts, our technological achievements. Together we might be ready when they return. Sun Mi crossed her arms. If we agree to help, what would this partnership look like? We won't surrender Earth's sovereignty or security. Of course not, said Vex quickly. We propose knowledge exchange. Defensive technology sharing. Perhaps joint patrols of border regions. Your military experts could help evaluate our security measures. Taiwan nodded slowly. It could work, but our people will need convincing. Humans are naturally suspicious of outsiders. Another survival trait, noted Tauri, the scientist. Fascinating how even your social behaviors reflect your evolutionary history. We would need to start small, suggested Jaiho. Cultural exchanges, limited technology sharing. Build trust gradually. The aliens conferred briefly among themselves, their skin rippling with rapid color changes. Agreed, said Vex finally. But we must also prepare. Our scientists believe the unknown species may be expanding its territory. The simple appearances suggest systematic exploration. Taiwan's phone buzzed with a message. He checked it quickly, then looked up. The president has approved preliminary alliance discussions, he announced. She wants to meet the full delegation tomorrow. Relief spread visibly across the alien skin, washing from deep purple to bright blue. Thank you, said Saul with genuine emotion. The Confederation has been alone for too long, vulnerable in our peaceful isolation. As the meeting concluded, Taiwan pulled Jaiho aside while the aliens examined the Seoul skyline. Do you think we can trust them? He asked quietly. Jaiho watched the aliens pointing at buildings, their childlike wonder evident even through their alien features. Yes, she said finally. They're afraid, but they're honest about it. They've admitted their weaknesses and deceptions. That takes courage. I agree, said Taiwan. "But I wonder what humanity might become if we take on the role of galactic defenders. Will it bring out our best instincts or our worst?" Jai-Ho smiled. "That's always been our challenge, hasn't it? Finding the balance between the predator and the protector within us." Outside the window, the Han River flowed peacefully under the morning sun, while far above, invisible to the naked eye, 3 alien ships maintained their orbit, waiting for humanity's answer. 1 month later, the Confederation formally welcomed Earth as its newest member. The ceremony took place in a transparent dome constructed specifically for the occasion, allowing the aliens to experience Sol's cherry blossoms without environmental suits. "The Confederation grants Earth full membership status," announced Axal, now wearing ceremonial Earth clothing alongside its environmental adaptations. "We also wish to establish a special security council with human leadership." Taiwan, newly appointed as Earth's security liaison, accepted the formal agreement tablet. "We're honored to join the Confederation and will gladly share our defensive expertise." Later, during the private reception, Hel pulled Ambassador Jai-Ho aside. "There is something we haven't shared with your people," the alien confessed. 20 Earth years ago, the Confederation encountered a hostile, expansionist species from beyond our explored space. We barely survived the encounter. They retreated, but our scientists believe they may return. Jai-Ho understood immediately. "So our defensive capabilities weren't just a curiosity. They're what your people need." "Precisely," Zal replied. "The Confederation evolved in peaceful environments, leaving us vulnerable. Earth's survival instincts may save us all when they return." Jai-Ho smiled slightly. "Then it seems our evolutionary paranoia might finally have a greater purpose." The cherry blossoms swirled in the gentle breeze, their pink petals occasionally landing on the dome's transparent surface. Inside, humans and aliens mingled, trying each other's customary greetings and sharing stories. The dome had been built in just 3 weeks, a marvel of combined human and alien engineering. President Junseo Kim stood on a small platform, addressing the gathered representatives from both species. "Today marks not just an alliance between Earth and the Confederation," she said, "but a new understanding between our peoples. We have much to learn from each other." Taiwan watched from the side, still adjusting to his new uniform. The security liaison position had been created specifically for him, a bridge between Earth's military experience and the Confederation's peaceful technology. Sun Maya appeared beside him, also wearing a new uniform with both human and alien insignia. "How does it feel to be the first human to command alien ships?" she asked. Taiwan smiled. "Terrifying. Their technology is beyond anything we imagined, but their tactical thinking is undeveloped. Like children with powerful toys," agreed Sunma. "They never needed to think about defense before." Across the room, Jai-Ho was deep in conversation with Xal when she noticed something odd. A small circular device on Xal's arm was flashing red. The alien quickly covered it, but not before Jai-Ho had seen. "Is something wrong?" she asked quietly. Xal's skin rippled with anxiety colors. "Nothing immediate, but our deep space monitors have detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of our territory." "The hostile species?" asked Jai-Ho, keeping her voice calm despite her concern. "Possibly, or perhaps natural phenomena." Xal's upper eyes blinked rapidly. "I didn't want to disrupt the celebration." Jai-Ho touched Xal's arm gently. "No more secrets between allies, remember. If there's a potential threat, we need to know." Xal nodded. "You're right. I will inform Security Chief Taiwan after the ceremony." The celebration continued, with cultural presentations from both sides. Human musicians played traditional Korean instruments, while alien artists created beautiful light patterns in the air above the audience. Later, as the formal part of the event concluded, Taiwan found himself on a small observation platform with Vex, the Confederation Security Council leader. "Your planet is beautiful," said Vex, watching cherry blossom petals dance in the wind. so full of life and danger. The two often go together, replied Tadwan. Beauty and danger are not opposites in nature. Vex's skin shifted to thoughtful green. Perhaps that is what we lost, living on our safe worlds. The appreciation for beauty that comes from understanding its fragility. Taiwan was about to respond when his communication device buzzed. It was a message from the orbital defense platform, one of Earth's contributions to the Alliance. "Excuse me," he said, stepping away to read the message. The alert was clear. Unknown objects had been detected at the edge of the solar system, moving slowly but deliberately toward Earth. Their energy signature matched nothing in Earth's database. Taiwan looked up to find Sal approaching, skin flickering with urgency patterns. "You've received the alert?" asked the alien. "Yes. Unknown contacts beyond Neptune." Taiwan kept his voice steady. "Your people have detected something similar, haven't they?" "At 3 different points along the Confederation border," confirmed Axel. "All with the same energy pattern we recorded at Naraxia before the attack." Taiwan nodded, his mind already shifting to tactical mode. "How quickly can your ships be ready?" "They are already prepared," said Vexal. Vex ordered full alert status before the ceremony began. Taiwan raised an eyebrow. "Yet you proceeded with the celebration." "It was important," said Saul simply. "This alliance is our best hope. Besides, we have time." "The objects are moving slowly, cautiously." "Scouting," said Tadwan. "Just as we would do." He signaled to Sunmai across the room. She nodded and quietly began gathering Earth's military representatives. President Kim noticed the subtle movement and made her way to Tadwan. "Is it time already?" she asked, her public smile never wavering. "Yes, Madam President," confirmed Tadwan. "Initial contact is likely within 72 hours." She nodded calmly. "Then we proceed as planned. Operation First Stand begins now." The President returned to her guests, while Taiwan, Sunme, and the alien security team slipped away to a secure room beneath the dome. There, a combined command center had been prepared, with interfaces designed for both human and alien operators. "All Earth defense platforms are at ready status," reported Sunme. "Orbital weapons are charged and tracking. Confederation vessels are moving to defensive positions," added Vex. "Our shields are at maximum." Taiwan looked at the tactical display showing Earth, the approaching unknown vessels, and the defensive assets in place. For a month, both species had been preparing for this moment, sharing technology and tactics. "We still don't know if their intentions are hostile," Taiwan reminded the team. "First contact protocol remains in effect. We attempt communication before any defensive action." Above them, the celebration continued, most attendees unaware of the drama unfolding. Jiho found herself watching the cherry blossoms, thinking about how they symbolize both beauty and impermanence in human culture. Her communication device buzzed with a message from Tadwan. "It's beginning. Stay with the delegates. Keep them calm." She looked across the dome to where the alien cultural representatives were demonstrating their light art. They had no idea they might soon be at war. In the command center, Taiwan studied the approaching signals. Their information, that suggests intelligence and coordination. "Just like at Naraxia," said Vex, skin pale with memory. "But this time, we're ready," said Sunmei. Taiwan nodded, feeling the weight of 2 species' futures on his shoulders. Humanity had evolved under threat, developed technologies and tactics in response to danger. Now those same instincts that had once driven humans to war might save peaceful species from extinction. "Begin broadcasting the greeting message on all frequencies," he ordered. "And make sure our weapons are tracking but not locked. We show strength without aggression." As the combined human-alien defense force prepared for whatever was coming, Tadwan thought about how strange it was that Earth's violent history had led to this moment. Their fear, their caution, their readiness for danger, qualities the Confederation had once misunderstood, were now the foundation of hope. "If they want peace, they'll find it," he said quietly. "If they want war, They'll find that humans understand war very well. Finished Sunmay. Outside, cherry blossoms continued to fall, beautiful and fragile, just like peace itself.